Hello and welcome. We're back with another episode of the TWIR weekly podcast. We are a couple days late. I said I'd be back on Wednesday, but at least I'm not. At least it's not like 2 months later that I come back with a bunch of news. So, how I condensed last episode down into about 30 minutes. I'm going to try and condense my show even more to about 25 minutes. I'm gonna try. It's gonna make them easier to make, and it's hopefully gonna increase the watch time by making them less intimidating by eliminating 15 minutes, 20 minutes out of the podcast. So anyway, we've got the Google Doc loaded up. Before we begin, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more videos. I do have a couple ideas in the pipeline right now that I'm trying to get done. One of them is an F1 livery tier list that I want to get out as the season begins. So subscribe if you want to see that. Moving on, I'm also going to be on WHJE radio on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock from now on until the end of May. That's my school's radio. I am on a show called Cars and Coffee, and I get to talk more cars. I'll leave a link to the website in the description to listen live. Moving on, first item in the Google Doc. Oh boy, NASCAR Atlanta did not disappoint. I'm going to go backwards here to save the best for last. Trucks. Normal truck race. You had a little bit of chaos. It was actually pretty well. It was pretty clean for a truck race, but we had Kyle Busch winning in the Spire Motorsports number 7. Lane Riggs, who is now driving the Front Row Motorsports number 38, got disqualified for the same windshield problem that faced Zane Smith last year at Homestead. Remember, we saw what we thought was his windshield flexing. That's apparently a problem on the FRM 38 again, because Lane Riggs got disqualified for the exact same thing. And probably the weirdest thing that happened all weekend was the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series becoming the NASCAR Boeing Truck Series, where Bailey Curry's roof of the Nice Motorsports number 41 just came off. It flew away, and the worst part about it is that Fox didn't even catch it. Like, they found someone's onboard. I think it was Daniel Dye's onboard, where they just see this like roof panel go flying off, and then they cut to Bailey Curry's truck being dragged to the garage. But probably the weirdest thing of the weekend, they should probably see if his windshield fasteners were tight. Maybe it wouldn't have happened if they were. On to NASCAR Xfinity. This race was an absolute snooze fest. We had Jesse Love leading, 90% of the laps, 85% of the laps. And then there's a late caution because all of the Fords run out of fuel at the exact same time. We had Custer and Herbst run out on the front stretch, Deegan run out on the back stretch, and the cause of the caution was Ryan Sieg, who basically just said, "This race is boring. I'm going to give them something to cheer for," and just stopped at pit entry to cause a yellow, pretending he was out of fuel, and then he just got going again after causing the yellow. I don't know if he's going to get penalized for that. I doubt he will, because the penalties for last week have already come out. So Ryan Sieg actually got away with probably a race-saving move that actually spiced the race up a little bit, but I would have liked a Jesse Love win over Austin Hill. Oh boy. This dude's going to be the Max Verstappen of the Xfinity Series. We have Vegas coming up this week. He's probably going to win Vegas. He's my pick to win the Xfinity race at Vegas. My other pick is Riley Herbst. I'm just going with last year's winners. But Austin Hill has had the car to beat this year. Starting with 2 super speedways did help him, or just helped RCR in general. Starting on a super speedway helped. I kind of wanted to see Jesse Love win that, but caution, he wasn't going to make it to the end anyway. He ran out of fuel even with a yellow. So He was hoping for at least one more, but he never got it. There were a lot of fuel issues. A lot of people came in way too early, ended up being multiple laps short. Just a little bit of a snooze fest, and then it was just kind of a crapshoot at the end. Cup is where it gets good. We have multiple history-making moments here in the Cup race. We have Michael McDowell getting his first career pole in something like 394 starts. Something insane. Something in the triple digits for sure. But Michael McDowell, incredible to see his first pole. FRM was just on rails this week. Todd Gilliland, my late race pick was Todd Gilliland. I thought he had this race in the bag. He led well over 50% of the laps. He's now the lap leader. He's now the overall lap leader for this season for the Cup Series. I thought he had that win in the bag. He was easily one of the greatest drivers that could stay up front and not get shuffled back after just a few laps. And then he ended up breaking a toe link. And that was all she wrote for the FRM 38. They've been really good this year so far, but they haven't really had the results to show for it. McDowell had a pole. I think McDowell ended up with a top 10 or something close. He had a decent finish, but then we had Gilliland, who easily had a race-winning car. Sadly could not convert due to other people's problems. Moving on to the good stuff, we had 4 wide at one point. We had 4 wide for like an entire lap because Austin Cindric made a really, really gutsy move in the tri-oval near the end of stage 2, I think. But we had 4 wide for basically a lap and a half. And then at the end, it was Daniel Suarez, Kyle Busch, and Ryan Blaney at the line. Suarez beats Blaney by 0.003 seconds. That is the third closest finish in NASCAR Cup history. I was watching this on my TV while I was on FaceTime with somebody, and I started like freaking out. I thought Blaney had it. Mike Fallon, Twisted Toe, thought Blaney had it. It really looked like Blaney was ahead, and then we all forgot that the outside line at Atlanta gives you way, way more. Every single photo finish that I can think of, all 3, the winner has been on the outside. So we had Earnhardt and Labonte in 2000. We had the next year, Harvick and Gordon in 01. Harvick won that. Earnhardt won in 2000. And then we have this year where we had Suarez on the outside, Kyle Busch in the middle. Jokes are that we had his tongue out because we had a Cars movie finish. We had a first Cars movie finish, which is really funny. So Kyle Busch was in the middle with his tongue out, and Blaney was on the inside, just so close yet so far away. Margin of finish between the top 3, 0.007 seconds. It is now the closest 1-2-3 finish margin in motorsports history, beating out 2003 IRL at Chicago, where, of course, nobody else but Sam Hornish ended up winning in a photo finish between him, Dixon, and Dario Franchitti. That they were separated by 0.010 between first and third. That this one is 3 thousandths of a second better. Incredible. We had a lot of history this week, and also another funny thing: with 63 laps to go, Kyle Larson and Martin Truex Jr. were battling for the lead with 63 to go at Atlanta. They crossed the line, hitting 63 to go. They crossed the line in a dead heat. Larson's last lap before that was a 34.89. Truex's was a 33.73. So Truex was able to get the better of Larson in terms of lap time, but I'll throw the picture up on the screen. Larson and Truex crossed the line exactly the same. So I don't know whether they went to owner's points to figure out who led the lap. I'm on Twitter and I'm looking at the comment from Denny Delivers. I don't so the who led the lap, if the lap is a dead heat, goes to the person who has led the most laps before. So Kyle Larson got that lap off of how many that he led previously. So holy cow. That race just in general left me speechless. Like, and the broadcast was good too. Fox wasn't like showing kids the entire broadcast, which is great. You want to see, actual racing because that's why you watch. But it was great. Fox put together a good broadcast. It was energetic, which was really good to see after last year's Daytona 500, which Clint Boyer did not seem at all excited about the finish that led to Ricky Stenhouse winning. Which, I mean, it's a Ricky Stenhouse win, so I don't really blame him. But you need excitement, and we got excitement from Mike Joy, Kevin Harvick, and Clint Boyer in the Fox booth. It was great. Harvick adds this feeling, he has knowledge of being in the car. He has knowledge of winning a championship. Sorry, Clint Boyer. He just has the personality to be in the TV booth, and he's a great addition for Fox instead of that rotating slot that they had last year where they had people like Tony Stewart, Danica Patrick, Jeff Gordon. They had Dale Earnhardt Jr. a couple years ago at Talladega. That was okay. And we'll talk about that later when we go to NASCAR news. Speaking of NASCAR news, we have penalties. Ryan Preece and Noah Gragson, more trouble for Stewart Haas. They have been docked 35 points for improperly installed roof air deflectors. A bunch of technical jargon that I don't know. So moving on, Gregson is now at -2 points. Joey Logano was fined $10,000 for basically wearing a baseball mitt during qualifying that had like webbed fingers so that he could catch more drag in the car and get a better qualifying lap. That's like just straight out of his pocket for Logano. That's not going to affect him at all. Nothing, no points penalty or anything. It's just $10K down the drain. Really fun. JJ Yaley's Xfinity crew chief. Okay, so JJ Yaley drives the 14 in the Xfinity series for SS Greenlight. That car is basically a rental where like Colleague ran it at Daytona for Daniel Suarez. Then it wrecked. Then SS Greenlight's just putting JJ Yaley in that car because, he's the best option. Because, how can you not love JJ Yaley? But his crew chief for the 14 has been suspended 2 races after some altercation that he had after the race with Kyle Weatherman. This leads me to a very, very funny Twitter interaction I had. I replied to Kyle Weatherman's tweet. Kyle Weatherman said something to the tune of the pants stayed on during the fight, and I mentioned a guy in the replies that had followed me literally hours before, and his account name was Kyle Weatherman's Pants. I'll throw a screenshot up for the people actually watching on YouTube. So that was probably my comedy highlight of the week, just having an account called Kyle Weatherman's Pants show up in my Twitter timeline. That was not on my bingo card this year. Hendrick Motorsports announced that their number 17 Xfinity car, the Ricky Hendrick tribute car, will run 10 Xfinity races split between their 4 Cup drivers. And then we have one road ringer for Sonoma. We have Boris Said. He is back, the Trans Am legend. Great to see Boris back in a NASCAR Xfinity car because he attempted the Charlotte Roval race and then DNQ'd because Hendrick gave him a crap car. So hopefully he makes the race at Sonoma and maybe fights for a win. I'd love to see Boris Said get a NASCAR win. There was some controversy. My sources are probably really bad here, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. There was sort of a disagreement a couple months ago between 2311 Racing and Lionel Racing, the collectibles manufacturer for NASCAR. They make all the diecasts and stuff. I'm big into the collectibles game, so I thought I would talk about this. So apparently there was a big rumor going around that there would be no 2311 diecasts this year, which would be a real shame because they make some of the best looking cars in the field. But apparently they've been withholding art because their management is not happy with the minimum order system that Lionel has. So to get a diecast made, you have to, like, say for 1/64 scale, a Hot Wheels sized car, you have to get 2,500 pre-orders in a month for that car to be approved, sent off to production, and actually made, so Lionel can actually get a return on investment. They don't want to make a car that gets absolutely no sales and then lose a bunch of money, which the thing is, they're not losing money. The cars are really cheap to make, and Lionel's making like an 85% profit off of them, which is insane because they've been hiking the prices up due to quote unquote inflation. They don't need to. They'd still be generating like a 90% profit even if they didn't hike the prices up by $2. $2 for the 164s and like 20 for the 124s. So the bigger models for the, adults. But yeah, that happened. And then the president of 2311, I'm blanking on his name right now, but he came out and said, yeah, that's not true. We just haven't given them any art yet because we want to all offer them at like the same time or whatever. So we are getting 2311 diecasts this year. It's just a matter of when. Moving on. IndyCar start times. They're out now. Might as well go over them. There's a few interesting things. I'm not going to go over them completely. Indy 500 is at 11, of course. All-Star Race at the Thermal Club starts at 9 a.m. local time. I talked about how outrageous this was on Cars and Coffee last week. This is dumb. Sure, the rich people living like behind the track are going to get woken up by it, but the first races for the All-Star Heat start at 9 a.m. and they're just going to go the whole day. Iowa race 1 is a night race, or at least we think it's going to be a night race. If we get a couple yellows, we are getting night racing. Gateway, 6 p.m. local time, twilight race. Milwaukee race 1, twilight race. Nashville Superspeedway, the season finale is an afternoon race. Really wish that was a night race because that would have been real cool. Just not gonna happen. St. Pete starts at noon. We're gonna have IndyCar to talk about next week. That's gonna be awesome. IndyCar news: we had Colin Brown and Jack Harvey testing for Dale Coyne. Colin Brown did pretty well in the Rick Ware number 51 that he tested at Sebring. So I'd love to see him get a ride. We're pretty sure Nolan Siegel is going to be in that car for at least 4 races. I believe that's what Marshall Pruitt said, that he's basically a shoe-in for the 51 during the 500. It's starting to shape up again that it's going to look more and more like 2015 for Dale Coyne. I put a note in here just saying that Will Power's livery for this year is awful. I don't like it at all. It's a complete downgrade from last year. I don't like them adding the white back. The black and red gradient was really nice. Moving on, we have Indy Next. Able Motorsports will be running their third car, which means we have 22 full season Indy Next cars. That is incredible considering back in 2019 we had like 11. We have Jacob Abel, of course, family money. Excuse me, I am going to butcher this name. Yuven Sundaramurthy. And then we have Josh Mason. So that Abel will have the third car. Shipping issues. World Endurance Championship Prologue got delayed due to shipping issues. They held it midweek instead of over the weekend. Porsche's looking real good. Stoffel Van Dorn really likes the Peugeot in the final race for the wingless 9X8. Toyota looks to be lagging behind, and late notes in here for Formula One. Red Bull seems to be lagging behind. The former Alpha Tauris, which are now the quote-unquote Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, totally not third and fourth teams for Red Bull, guys. Totally, trust me. Daniel Ricciardo was fastest in free practice 1, and Max Verstappen was as low as 6th. So the RB20 might not be the absolute beast that people predicted it to be, which is going to be really interesting to see how volatile this season gets. So I'm really hoping for at least 3 different winners. I wouldn't be surprised if V-Carb gets a win this year for Ricciardo or Tsunoda. Wouldn't be surprised if it's McLaren, one of the guys I host Cars and Coffee with. Said that's his hot take for this year, that Piastri's going to win a race, not a sprint race, but a race. That's basically it for today. I did a rapid fire here. This is we have back to WEC last second. Toyota's not looking good either. They're looking really slow, which also blows the Hypercar Championship wide open this year. Ferrari become the favorites now, but you also have Porsche, you have Ganassi Cadillac, which that car is going to be fast. You have the Lamborghinis, which seem to be fast. The Isotta Fraschini is not really seeming like a contender right now. Just it's a little off the pace, but I'm still going to root for it because, cool one-of-a-kind car. But Toyota's dominance might be at an end here with such a massive hypercar field. And we're going to have, 24 hypercars at Le Mans. That's going to be huge. There is only a 1 in 12 chance that Toyota wins Le Mans this year. That's way, way low compared to, late year LMP1, where they had basically a 100% chance of winning. Like the last 3 years of LMP1, they won every single time. But yeah, I'm going to have to end it with that. I am out of notes. Comment your questions if you have any. I will do my best to answer them next week. Just comment down below. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell if you got it this far. Share the video with your friends. Helps get more traffic to the channel. I'll have some new videos out in the next couple weeks. I'll have my F1 livery tier list, and I also have my Indy 500 field so far video that I will release before May, and I will also release a new version on May 1st with all of the drivers confirmed. So that will be the project that I will be working on. But until next time, I will see you guys next week on the TWIR Weekly Podcast. My name is Nathan, and have a wonderful rest of your week.